Join the mortgage expert Heath Barnes as he equips loan officers and real estate agents with innovative ideas and tools so you can adapt to the changing environments in the marketplace. Be inspired by stories from some of the top professionals in the mortgage world today as they reveal their secrets of what made them successful while gaining knowledge and insight about how they continue their success regardless of the market conditions. Find out how to build a team and scale your business. Get ready to be more productive while working fewer hours. Here is your host, Heath Barnes.
Welcome to another episode of Mortgages Reimagined. I'm your host, Heath Barnes, and I'm excited to have our guest, Barry Habib, who's an American entrepreneur and frequent media resource for his mortgage and housing expertise. He's the #1 best-selling author on Amazon of the book Money in the Streets. He's a frequent guest on CNBC and Fox, as well as the CEO of MBS Highway. He's won many notable awards, including the 2019 Mortgage Professional of the Year and 2018 and 2020 Crystal Ball Award winner for his most accurate real estate forecasting. He's founded many successful businesses and was the founding partner of Social Survey. And during his mortgage career, he originated more than $2 billion in mortgages. Welcome to the show, Barry. It's heartfelt.
Thank you so much, Heath. Appreciate being here.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Barry, I'd love for you to give just a little bit of your origin story. For those of you that aren't listening, I'm holding up his book, Money in the Streets, which is Barry's book. Talks about his most humble beginnings from selling calculators to being Crystal Ball's #1 forecaster of real estate. So just a little bit of your background, Barry, before we get into the markets.
Thanks. It was very humble beginnings. Child of immigrants, first generation here, very, very difficult from a financial perspective. My dad passed away when I was a lot younger, so my mom had a lot to deal with. And she worked in a sweatshop, where you make dresses. And so I know what it's like to be poor, but I think mindset is really critical, and believing that there was a lot more out there, and understanding that there is truly opportunity everywhere, definitely helped me to progress and evolve, learn a lot of lessons along the way, and continue to be optimistic. I think that's a really important characteristic amongst people who are successful is optimism.
Yeah.
So, I think you know that too. Most successful people do have an air of optimism. So was able to do some things that were kind of fun. When I was in college, I was kind of entrepreneurial. People needed these new calculators, and it was a nice way for me to provide a service, make a few dollars in college. We all could use. Then I went on to selling stereo equipment out of the trunk of my car, which was kind of a really great learning experience. Go to different areas, just cold call and meet people and talk to them, and understand that sales is really about persistence and understanding whatever product it is that you are showing. But it's also about building trust, and that's the main thing. And the thing I learned at an early age is when something would go wrong, as it does with electronic equipment, that here I was, this young kid selling out of the trunk of my car, but I would give my phone number, and somebody would call me. I would go all the way back and do what was right. I just did it because I knew it was the right thing to do, and I wanted to make sure if it was me, that somebody would treat me that way. So I think people are so blown away that what I didn't realize, and the lesson that I learned, is that when problems occur, it's almost more of an opportunity than a headache. And if you look at it that way, it gives you the chance to show character. It gives you the chance to build trust. If everything would have gone right, I would have just been another vendor.
Yeah.
The fact that something went wrong and I made it right, well, that built trust, friendship, and almost ultimately they felt obligated to either buy more stuff or refer somebody. So it's just like that in life.
Yeah.
It was a valuable lesson. Got kind of into making a little bit of money during that stereo tenure that I had in my early 20s, and saw opportunities in real estate. Because remember, opportunities everywhere. started to make some investments. By the time I was like 25, I started buying homes from 23, 24, 25. And then I had a few partners because I didn't have a lot of money. And what we did was we bought homes and either fixed them up or rented them out or flipped them. And that taught me a lot of lessons. And as I would sit down with the individuals doing my mortgage, I mean, I went to college for finance major. So I liked numbers. I was always a numbers person. And I would ask them, so how do you guys do in the business? And heck, you're in your mid-20s. You think you could do anything, right? So
yeah.
I was like, okay, so what do the top people in the industry do? If I was going to do something, I wanted to know what do the top people do. Because heck, I figured, Heath, if I could sell stereo equipment out of the trunk of my car, I probably could sell something else pretty well.
Right.
So what happened was interesting. Got into the mortgage business. I was not met with, a parade of customers. I was met with a lot of, like we all do, obstacles and lack of knowledge, experience, relationships. And this is a relationship business. So how do I try to insert myself where there was already an existing relationship? Because realtors doing business were already sending their transactions somewhere. So how do I win their trust with no experience? And I had to be patient, but I had obligations. My twins had just been born. They were 2 months old. So think about how
the motivation
was. Right? Think about how crazy I was for 2 months old twins to change careers. So clearly, failure was not an option. And so I went out at night. I knocked on people's doors and asked them if they wanted to refinance or if they needed to purchase. Some people threw me out. Some people slammed the door in my face or called the cops. But during my third week in the business, I happened to write 16 mortgage transactions.
Wow.
Which not a lot of people had done back then. Here I am 3 weeks in the business. Now, clearly, I did not really have a good handle on what I was doing, but I had help of good people that kind of helped me to piece these deals together. But it was the drive that I had, the determination, and looking at everything as an opportunity. Heath, I would talk to anyone that I could, especially if I were a customer. Now, I'm giving you money, so I've kind of got you as a captive audience. So at that point in time, I would do what I was doing in the stereo business, cold calling, talking to people, seeing what they could utilize. By doing that, I found a good way to gain some relationships and referrals. And I was crazy enough to do this everywhere I went, to the point where I'd drive down the road and come up to toll booths. And back then, you didn't have the electronic methodology of collecting tolls. So there were baskets in New Jersey that you'd either toss a quarter in if you had exact change. If you didn't, you waited on a much longer line, go to a toll collector. Most people would give $1 bill and they'd get the change. Well, I had the quarter, but I still went to where there was a toll collector because that had me a chance to talk to somebody.
Wow.
And I gave him my card and the quarter, said, hey, if I can help you with the refinance and save you money, or if you're looking to purchase a home, promise to take great care of you. And that's it. It was 3 seconds that I had. I used that 3 seconds to give the message. And now my buddies would travel with me, and they would be so pissed at me for now taking the longer route every single time. And there's several tolls in New Jersey if you've ever ridden down the roads.
Yeah.
So, and then one day a guy by the name of Steve Horton called me, and not only did I do his mortgage, but 17 coworkers.
Wow.
That was big. That was a big win for me. But the point is that I was not the only person driving up and down the roads of New Jersey who was in the mortgage business or real estate business. But I may have been one of the only people that viewed opportunity, even toll booth.
Wow.
And opportunity truly is everywhere. It's one of the reasons I wrote the book, Money in the Streets. That's what immigrants hear when they come to the United States, is that America is such a rich country.
Yeah.
There's money in the streets. All you have to do is pick it up.
Yeah.
Mom would tell me the story when I was a little kid. It would be kind of funny and sad at the same time that, America was not necessarily this wonderful wealth opportunity that you'd pick up money in the streets like they had heard. But the message is true. It is true because there really is opportunity everywhere. You just have to see it. So when people talk about the current market and its challenges, Heath, there is opportunity within this market. There's opportunity in market share. There's opportunity to shift your focus. And I think with that type of a mindset, just a more broader scope mindset, to train your brain to look for opportunity. Heath, there's an exercise that we could do. The next time you go into a room, look around a room with a lot of people and just observe for a moment. Now, put in your mind a color. So that color is green or orange. And now look around and look for that color. And all of a sudden, they start to pop up everywhere. You do the same thing, you look, but now what you look for jumps out at you. So if you look for opportunity consciously, they will start to pop up everywhere.
Yeah. What I hear you saying is if your mother would have got here and there would have been money in the streets, then your life might have been a little bit different, right? You now, the hard times that you got to go through, that you got to experience, created the Barry Habib of today. So I appreciate you sharing.
It would have been a lot easier. It would have been a lot easier and maybe a lot more fun as a kid. But I don't know if I would have been able to do things that help as many people or have that understanding and empathy and sensitivity to what others go through, so that I could do the very best I can to try and help other people as well. Because in life, that's one of the most important ingredients, is that there's a lot of people that make tons of money, and there's a lot of people that even have achieved a lot of things, but they aren't necessarily happy. We see that all the time, right?
Right. Totally.
But I truly believe that one of the things that does help is fulfillment. And fulfillment comes from doing things that are meaningful or helping others. And maybe it's a little bit different for each of us, but for me, helping others has a great degree of fulfillment and happiness for me. I still want the financial goals, clearly. Not embarrassed to say that, and still want the achievement goals. I want that because I want to grow and keep setting the bar. But those two, for me at least, would be meaningless without knowing that what I was doing with those things was doing good in the world and making a positive impact, and helping others to, as we reach ahead with one hand, you should always reach back with the other to bring people with.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. What I've heard Tony say many times, what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. What's available. So anyways, I'd like to shift, and maybe hopefully shift some of our listeners' mindset into what's available in this market. Like I've talked to many real estate agents. In fact, I talked to one a couple of months ago that said, I haven't had a paycheck in a month. And it wasn't because he didn't have any clients. It was because he was having trouble in this market, which I'd love for you to go into and give us a little color into what's happening in the market and how long you think this is going to last.
Well, first of all, heart goes out to anybody who's not getting a paycheck. So it's difficult with broad strokes to try and address that without understanding the details of what it is. So there may be some things that could potentially be improved with that particular statement, but we don't know, right? Through their own sets of challenges. But overall, just say if you're in the mortgage business, it depends on where your lens is. If your lens is, well, if I'm going to compare to $4 trillion or $4.1 trillion in 2020 or 2021, respectively, this year is going to seem like it's disappointing. But the forecast this year in 2022 is $2.6 trillion, which happens to be third best year in the last 16. So if you take out 2021 and 2020, it'd be the best year for origination.
Wow.
There's a shift in focus. So that's, first of all, the mentality is there are transactions out there. How do we get our share, right? Now, it isn't like shooting fish in a barrel, and refinances are down 72%. So maybe shifting our focus and shifting our mindset and looking for those opportunities like we talked about now. So what are they? They're going to all be in either being creative on your refinances or doing a much more concerted effort on solving problems and points of friction that exist on the purchase side. So let's do the first one, which is refinances. So what can I do? Well, there is still a third of all mortgage volume is refinance volume.
Wow.
So not like it's zero. It's 1 out of 3 is still a refinance. So clearly there's a need for it. Now, it may not be as much where you're saving people money on a monthly basis, taking them from a higher rate to a lower rate. How can we get creative taking people from a lower rate to a higher rate and taking what the defense gives us, to use kind of a football term? So the defense is giving you all kinds of home appreciation. The average price is almost $200,000 in equity. So what if I took your loan currently, and if you had room to go to a 75 loan to value, which most people do, the average is about 51 LTV on a home. So if I could take you up to a 75, and let's look at your debt picture, because we've got data from articles and studies that have been published on CNBC that shows that the fourth quarter of 2021 represented the highest amount of debt in the history of the United States. It seems to me like a lot of people were getting money from COVID, things like that, and those financial aid programs and stimulus programs. And then when that stopped, perhaps they didn't change their spending habits. They just used debt or credit cards as a way to continue the same lifestyle into most recent 6 months or so. So people have a lot of debt. People have a lot of car loans. So why don't we think about utilizing that equity and freeing up some cash? Now, we talk about this a lot at MBS Highway. We've actually created tools for it where you can show somebody a 3.5% rate currently. Okay, 5.5% is the rate that the market has today. How could you talk to somebody and say, you've got a 3.5% mortgage that you took out 3 years ago and bring you to a 5.5% mortgage today? Not easy. In addition to that, maybe 3 years ago means they've got 27 years left. Now, if you refinance them, that's 30 years left. I can't save you mortgage insurance because when you bought the home was an 80 LTV, so no MI savings. And let's just say your closing costs, you're paying a point or something like that on top. Let's throw this kitchen sink of negativity at it.
Yeah.
4,000 more in closing costs, no MI savings, add 3 years, and your rate's 2% higher, or it's going to cost you $300 a month more. It's a lousy situation that most people wouldn't even touch. But some creativity in tapping into the equity, paying off the debt. In many of these situations, you could save $1,500, $2,000 a month. That's serious money. Then taking it a step further would mean that what if we took this now found money and took this money and accelerated the payments on the new mortgage that you'll do, even if the rate's 5.5%, because by doing so, what you actually wind up doing is paying off that mortgage somewhere around 12 years. So instead of having 27 years left, you now have 12 years left. Now you build equity every single month during the process. So after 5 years, you've got about $100,000 in additional equity. After 10 years, it's about $250,000. After 12 years, when the loan's paid off, it's over $300,000 in equity. That's a great way to have a nest egg for your kids' college education if you haven't started that yet. But then think about this. When that loan's paid off, you now start saving that aggregate $5,000 a month cost. So that's an extra $5,000 additional cash flow.
Yeah.
After the loan's paid off in 12 years for the next 15 years comparatively, which to me sounds like the best retirement plan in the world because I haven't paid anything into it or changed my habits.
Right.
So this is that creative looking for opportunities. Now, on the purchase side, I would looking at opportunities to help people solve points of friction. And there are many. So think about my next call might be with a real estate agent. And with the mindset of how can I help solve your problems, what do real estate agents want to do? Go on listing appointments.
Right.
So the customer thinks their home is worth this. The reality is it might be worth this. How do they bring them down to earth? Well, if you could bring an AVM with you, now we provide that, but let's say you do the homework, which you can do, and you create an AVM, certainly easy if you have one, but then all the comps and all the stats so that you now have a real report that just helps your realtor present to the customer in a very professional manner and do all the homework for the realtor. Instead of the realtor working for an hour and 20 minutes to pull 10 comps, done that for them. So now what have you done? You've resolved the point of friction. You made that realtor's life easier. It's an easy habit for that real estate agent to get into. And anybody who's been in the business longer than a year knows how it works. When you work with a real estate agent and you have good communication and you're helping them and you're talking to them, ultimately what happens is this. Oh, by the way, Barry, there's this couple I'm working with. Yeah, can you pre-qualify? And that's how it starts. Okay. So will this result in more business in 10 seconds for you? Most likely not. So it is not that type of an answer. But if you want to build more relationships, gain more transactions, you want to build for your future, this is a great practice. Another big issue is homes being bid over asking price. Realtors have a difficult time articulating why you should do it from a financial perspective. Also, our bid over ask tool, maybe people can have access some other way. We're the only ones that have an extra tool that does it. what we will do is we will answer the important question, which is, if you bid X amount over the value today, we will calculate for you in that zip code based upon a forecasted appreciation for each individual zip code in the country, how long it will take for that home to achieve equilibrium and break even. So how long will I be upside down? That's a really important question. But then we also have forecasted out for the next several years, so we can tell you what that home's value will be based upon historical or based upon what we expect in the future, how much it will be of an increase over the next 5 years. So how much money will I make? And people have a really hard time with the principle of compound interest. People have a really hard time if you tell them a rate, transferring that based upon a dollar amount of what the value is into a dollar gain. It's a hard thing even for people that are pretty proficient mathematically. So for the average person, it's shocking how quickly you can recover a bid over ask if it's reasonable, and also how huge the benefits in appreciation of homeownership could be based upon the miracle of compound interest.
Yeah. And if you just ask the client, hey, how long you plan to live in the house? If they're going to live in it 20 years, I mean, it's always going to come back, right? So it doesn't even really matter in this market. It's just a matter of actually getting in the game and being able to get your offer accepted. So,
well, that's the thing too, is getting in the game, and that might require you to be in a position to bid over estimate. But you want to do it responsibly. You don't want to do it blindly. You don't want to do it based on competition. And that's why using a tool like this can allow you to calculate. Look, if it's going to take 6 months, you might say to yourself, well, I'm going to be taking 2 months before I close. So 4 months after I close, that's not so bad. And then when you calculate what the amount is, it might only be 4.5%. So 4.5%, if the area is forecasted this year to appreciate 9%, not unusual. Remember, we're coming off 20. So that's a 6-month period. Now, the other aspect of it is that it might also allow you to think twice. Because if I want to bid $200,000 over and it's going to take me 7 years to break even, that may be something you should give more consideration to, and there might be other opportunities you might want to consider. So this is not to sell you, try to help you correctly evaluate what it is and avoid you from missing an opportunity because you don't have tools to allow you proper evaluation.
Right.
The ones are ones that we see all the time where people get discouraged. They get discouraged because, man, I just got outbid. My heart. I really wanted that home. Or, we saw this house. We really liked it. It's a big decision. Went home, we talked about it. We asked other family members. We took another look at it. But by the time we bid, it was gone. That happens a lot.
Right.
Or I've looked for 3 or 4 weekends and can't find anything. So you know what? In all 3 of those instances, they may say, well, let me come back in 6 months. Thinking that the market will be better, especially if you listen to the media, prices will be lower. But if you get factual data and you show what the forecasts are and what is expected to happen, along with why, the reason behind, not just the BS you see in the media, but what is the supply? What is the demand? What are the factors that are going to contribute to this? Why are we going to see prices continue based upon real data that supports that? Then you may be able to either stay in the game and continue to look, or maybe bid that little bit more to win the home of your dreams and lock that home in for yourself. So the things you want to do, because remember, Heath, what are our alternatives? This is not about a game of perfect. If you look at the media reports, they're going to show you this is not a good time to buy a home. Well, okay, tell us something we don't know.
Right.
Not only is it not a good time to buy a home, it sucks to buy a home right now. Okay, prices are up, rates are up, no inventory out there. It is difficult to buy a home. You know what else sucks? It sucks dieting. I don't like the diet, but the results are great. Okay.
Right.
And that's what we have to understand. It's not just that it's sentiment. Yes, it is a difficult time, no doubt, but you can persevere. You can buy homes. In fact, activity on purchase transactions, except for the makeup period after COVID in 2021, you had the big drop in 2020. You had the over makeup period in 2021 of activity. This year is better by far in activity than 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 12, 13, 12. It's all those years. We are far superior in the amount of purchase activity, but the media always has a negative spin. Why does the media have a negative spin? Well, you remember Mark Zuckerberg when he was testifying? What did he say? Senator, we run ads.
Yeah.
And the media runs ads. And what sells? Well, sex sells, negativity and fear sells. Okay. So that's what they're going to try and do is they're going to give you what sells. They're not good doesn't sell, unfortunately.
Right. And it's still a good time to buy considering inflation, even though interest rates have gone up, right? If you're looking at, if we are in an inflationary period and it's going to last for a while, there's not a better place to put your money most likely than real estate, even if rates are 5.5%.
Well, yeah, it's certainly more painful. So we get that and we understand. We believe that the real estate market is still going to be strong. There are many things that we need to understand and encounter and be sympathetic towards, right? So we do that. So when you take a look at the purchase of a home, let's take an example of a $400,000 mortgage from last year compared to this year. Well, prices are up 18%. So buy the same home last year was $400,000. This year it's $472,000. Last year the rate might have been 3.5. This year might be 5.5. Just to give you some round numbers, right?
Yeah.
So the payment's like almost $900 a month. But incomes have gone up greater than that when you take a look on an annualized basis in the private sector that we can't take in aggregate because the bottom rung of people on the income scale might include people like this. You have a wonderful young man or woman who is just getting started out. They're 19 years old. They're working at a fast food restaurant and they're doing everything they can. They're truly not a home buyer today. They don't want to probably buy a home today. God bless them. They'll probably buy a home in the not too distant future, but their income, when you count medium, shouldn't be considered in that, right? Because they're not in the game. You don't want to take an average of somebody who isn't in the game. Of those in the game, it's a much closer level. But on an annualized basis, private sector, looking at a 10.5% year-over-year gain. So you at least offset. You actually are, they make almost $1,000 a month more compared to the $900 a month more cost. Now let's be real about the other instances. Fuel's up $79 a month per household. Food's up $71 a month per household. Then other expenses as well as services was just the number that Moody's gave that was $311 a month. So when you think about it, it probably is costing you as a family $200 a month more, even with your income, to buy that home this year. Now, while that's not something you can dismiss, it isn't the negative picture that the media wants you to believe when they say, it's $900 a month. It's really not. Let's be fair and take in all the negativity, but also let's be fair and add the positive aspects too. But the media won't do that because, Senator, we run ads.
Right. Well, what do you tell the people that say, you know what, I'm going to wait. This is a bubble, and I'm going to wait until interest rates go down. I'm going to wait until we go into a recession to buy.
Okay, well, let's address all of those. So interest rates, I think, will go down. I think they probably peak near October because that's when the year-over-year CPI and PCE comparisons. So people think inflation has peaked now. I don't agree. I think that if you look at the year-over-year comparisons, monthly inflation, there was a dip in 2021 in July, August, and September. That went right back up in October throughout the rest of the year. So when you get the new prints this year for July, August, and September, they will compare probably at a higher level than 2021's. So therefore, I think that inflation probably goes up. It probably gives us a little heartburn in interest rates, Heath. However, it's almost like a perfect combination of things. Supply chain gets alleviated, Shanghai shut down, gets alleviated, the thousands of giant container ships finally start to move, get offloaded, get unloaded so that they can transfer goods. And I think that by that time, the Fed rate hikes, now there've been two, a quarter in March, May have a half. We know that June 15th, we're going to get another half. You know that July 27th, we're going to get another half.
Right.
Powell's told us that. And then September 21st is the next one. Maybe we get another half there. But this is when things start to take hold and we start the two things occur. One is an incentive to save, which people didn't have, right? Because now you get actually some return instead of fractional of 1%. And two is it becomes more painful to buy things that are affected by the Fed funds rate. Mortgages are not one.
Right.
What's affected by the Fed funds rate are business loans, which is where the commercial industrial loans, that's the biggest one. But your individual loans, you know, your home equity lines of credit, your personal loans, credit cards, car loans, things like that, they become a little more painful, so people do less of it. So what is inflation? People go, what's inflation? Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. So if the goods section starts to improve, that alleviates inflation. If there comes dollars taken out, that's what the Fed's trying to do, increase rates for demand destruction. So people get it wrong. I read all this, such bad information out there. People are so misinformed on this. The Fed hikes rates. It actually helps mortgage rates. It doesn't hurt for it.
Right.
Hiking rates to curb inflation. If they're successful in curbing inflation, mortgage rates go down. Mortgage rates have gone up because inflation's gone up, not because they've done anything.
Yeah.
Started going up way before the Fed started. So we see, to answer your question, we see interest rates actually beginning in improving area. We think that real estate, there's a big difference between a deceleration in appreciation and prices going down and a bubble. Now, it's not too far in our memories, the shock of the terrible bubble that we had seen that occurred 2007, 8, 9.
Right.
The circumstances with anything, when something is priced, we have the invisible hand of price. Price discovery occurs when you have the amount of supply meet the amount of demand. That's when you have price discovery. And in real estate, no different. So today, the reason why prices are going up is because there's too little inventory. There's only 950,000 homes available. In 2007, you know how many homes were available?
How many?
3.81 million. So
wow.
3 million more homes available. Let's exacerbate that further because there are now, between 2007 and 2020, an additional 14 million households that need a home. So
wow.
That tells you that you've got 14 million more households competing for 3 million fewer properties on the marketplace. This is not the bubble situation. Look at demand from 2006, 7, 8. The demand was much less, but builders were building far too many homes. The amount of households formed in 2006 was 1 million. Builders put up 2 million homes. And
right.
Similar for 2007, 2008, 2009. And by then we had a full-fledged bubble to try and compensate. There was products that really were not good quality mortgage products to try and get anybody in to qualify. You know,
right.
580 FICO, no income, no asset, no job, nothing down, just to try and fill that. But today's mortgages, as anybody in the mortgage industry will attest to, or anybody who's tried to take out a mortgage, is a very different breed. And you look at the rates of delinquencies across the board, exceptionally low, high performance, really good quality. It's not the way it was 15 years ago. This is a very, 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 very different marketplace.
Right.
There's not a bubble, but there will be a deceleration. And that's healthy and that's good. We don't want 20% appreciation for you.
Right.
But here's the thing, Heath, that people don't understand. Let's say if that drops to 3% or 4% or 5%. So we think it'll probably be closer to 5 or 6. If you were to buy a $500,000 home, that's $25,000 or $30,000. That is not bad at all. And if you, based upon your down payment, let's say you put 10% down or $50,000, $25,000 represents a 50% rate of return on your money.
Yeah.
Not too bad. And you get to live in it too.
Yeah. What caused this supply issue? I mean, why did we go from 4 million homes to now we have less than 1 million on total supply around the United States? What's caused that?
Births from many years ago. So when you look at households formed in 2006, the year that builders put up more homes than they ever did, 2 million homes.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why household formations was much, much lower was because far fewer people were born 33 years before that, or in 1973. The reason for that is that's the year abortions were legalized. So abortions dropped, births dropped precipitously, stayed low for a while. And then 33 years later, if you look at the chart, it is a replica. The amount of household formations, 2006, 33 years later, dropped precipitously and then stayed flat before up. So you had too much supply, builders putting up too many homes, and not enough demand for it. Well, now you've got, based upon the amount of births from 33 years ago, increasing dramatically, and builders putting up much, much, much fewer homes. And there's many reasons for that. Labor shortage, supply shortages, regulation, land. There's reasons for that. They're just not keeping up with it. And just like anything else, the invisible hand, the inventory situation is a factor of too much demand, not enough supply. And it didn't happen overnight. This was happening in 2018, 2019. And then by 2020, it started to really take hold. Just like in 2006, many people didn't see a problem in 2006, even though the inventory started to shift. In 2007, they started to see it. By 2008 and 2009, it became blatantly obvious because we saw what was going on. But remember, it was the cumulative effect. So here you have the culmination of many years of more demand than supply. And now you start to see what's gone on because of it.
Yeah. And any idea how long you think this seller's market might last before we come back to a more normal market? Is it 3 years? Is it 2 years?
It's a really hard question to say. Households being formed are going to plateau and level off in the next couple of years. So it depends on how much more supply comes on the market. There is quite a bit of multifamily coming on. If people have a greater shift towards renting than they do owning, that can have an impact because that pulls buyers out of the market. If the interest rates persist at these higher levels, it will pull buyers out of the market. So I believe there will be relief, but I don't think that the pendulum swings to this level of now I've got all kinds of supply and I have no buyers out there. It's just too great of a population and builders are in the hole too much. Now, I don't think it's this much, but Freddie Mac said we're undersupplied by 3.8 million units. I think it's a lot less than that, but look, let's say it's half that number. Let's say it's 2 million units less. Well, that means how would you fix that to equilibrium? Not where we would have negativity, where prices would come down. Because remember, for prices to come down, you need more supply. So if builders were magically able to wave a wand and boom, here's 2 million homes ready for sale, that are ready for sale. Don't listen to the numbers that the media tells you because they'll say, well, new construction has 407,000 units for sale. But of the ones ready, 35,000, 9%. So wow, there's a big difference there. Okay. So ready for sale. That would mean that all household formations would have to stop at the same time. See, in the time, so it isn't just put up another 2 million homes, it's put up 2 million more homes than new households being formed. And you get new households every single year. Having had the experience of putting Rock of Ages and Chris Angel and Whitney Houston shows, I've produced a few shows out there. You compare to other things. So when we were on Broadway, I mean, I thought we were a really good show. Rock of Ages ran for 6 years. We had some Tony Thompson. So show that always kicked our ass was Wicked. And, I would say, look, I've seen Wicked. Okay. Yeah. It's really, okay, I'm not going to say anything bad, but it's like, why is Wicked always do well every single year? And it was explained so beautifully to me by an experienced producer who said to me, Barry, that's because every year, new crop of 14-year-old girls to see that show. Yeah. And it's the same thing with household formation. 33 years ago, those people were born. They're coming. Yeah. They need a place to live. Yeah. Yeah. So I hear that it's the millennials, it's the housing supply of all costs, what's going on, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, So, well, the future, I think the future is very bright for housing. Yeah. 4, 5, 6% a year. That's an incredible amount of wealth on a compound. Albert Einstein said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And if you've ever calculated it, you'll see why. Yeah. Yeah. Being able to leverage, your mortgage to be able to put more money in real estate. I find a lot of investors coming into the market. One thing we notice is how the rates have changed on investment loans and second homes. What's caused that with Fannie and Freddie, and do we see that changing at all in terms of having to add points and things like that, where there used to be more relief there? There's a lot of rationale for that. The percentages of loans that Fannie or Freddie will purchase have dropped, and maybe, I can only speculate, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But the rationale perhaps could be that they feel that their reason for existence to essentially help people achieve the dream of home ownership. And as an investor, that may be more perceived towards something different. Business type of outlook. So I don't know why. Because they do have it for second homes too, but maybe second home is, again, you've achieved the dream of home. We helped you with that. Do we have to help you with the dream of your second home? So I can't speak for them. I can only try to guess as to what potentially some of the rationalization.
Got it. Well, cool. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show today, Barry. I appreciate your insight into some new ways we can help our clients. Any final thoughts or like a book or quote that you'd can recommend?
Well, I've often been quoted for saying that when it comes to mortgages, the best rate on the wrong strategy is a lot more expensive than a competitive rate on the right game plan for your financial future. As far as books go, I think that one book that everybody should read, give your kids to read, is The Richest Man in Babylon. Because a lot of the world's problems would be solved if we understood how to build for our financial future and try our best to understand that savings is a very important aspect of that. So it's an important principle to teach kids. I made all my kids read it. I live by understanding that a portion of what you earn should put away to save and to build and to grow. And I think that provides over time to be a great way to secure your financial future and allow you to do good for others and help others.
I appreciate it, Barry. And if our listeners want to contact you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Easy to find. I'm really easy to find. Barry at MBS Highway, or just look up MBS Highway, Google me. I'm pretty easy. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, just easy.
Well, Barry, I appreciate you being on the show, man. I acknowledge you for, just being a pinnacle for most of us loan officers out there to see what's possible. So thanks for being on the show today, Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. Hopefully this discussion inspires you by providing new tools to shape your business so you can become a more innovative and cutting-edge professional in the mortgage space. Join Heath in more conversations with the industry's top leaders by subscribing to the podcast at www.heathbarnes.com. That's www.heathbarnes.com.